The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 916. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Pre-order a copy of Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, and all major book retailers worldwide. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I actually don't have any guests for today. I decided I would do a solo interview because I've never done one. Actually, that's not true. My first episode was a solo one. It was just more of an introduction of the podcast. So I figured today I'd do a solo one because some of you may or may not have heard of this podcast, or this is the first time you're hearing this, and I'd like to share a little bit about who I am, what I've done, and why I created this podcast. So for those of you who may or may not know me, my name is Sheena Yap Chan. I started the podcast in September of 2015, and part of the reasons why I started it was because I was dealing with my own confidence issues. And when I was looking on the internet for resources that cater to specifically Asian women, I didn't see any. And also representation was really important for me because I grew up in Toronto without having any media representation. So I started this podcast. I launched it in September of 2015, have interviewed over 800 women on this podcast, and I've also written a couple of books. So my first book was called Asian Women Who Boss Up, which highlights the stories of 18 Asian women who are able to forge their own path, overcome obstacles, and thrive. And to me, that was really special because to see 16 Asian women on the front cover was really important. It was so needed. And that led me to writing my first book with Wiley called The Tao of Self-Confidence. So it was the same name as the podcast. And it was about learning to move beyond your trauma to show up as your best self, because that was really important for me to talk about it, especially in Asian culture. We don't talk about the traumas we've been through. We're always told to repress it, to keep it in the background, to never talk about it. And of course, that will lead us to having low self-esteem and not feeling good enough. So it is important to work through these traumas that we go through. So my first book with Wiley was The Tao of Self-Confidence. I had less than 3 months to write that, and it became a Wall Street Journal best-selling book, which I'm really super proud of. And now I have a new book coming out, which is Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World. And I didn't think I was going to write a second book, to be honest. I was really happy having the first book, and I was just going to pimp it out like there was no tomorrow. So when the publisher asked me if I wanted to write a second book, I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't even know if I had another book in me to write. I mean, I just recently wrote the first book, and I wasn't too sure if I was capable of writing the second book, but I said yes anyways, and I'm glad I did because now the book is coming out in about a month. It's coming out May 6th. It's available for pre-order. And one of the reasons why I wrote that book was because there was a report from the World Economic Forum that mentioned gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. So that's a little under 130 years. But that stat was during when I wrote the book, so that was last summer. Now, it's actually delayed. Now they're saying that the earliest would be the year 2158. So that's over 130 years. So that means we won't see it, your daughters won't see it, your granddaughters won't see it, your great-granddaughters won't see it, and even maybe your great-great-granddaughters won't see it. And I feel like at the rate we're going right now and what's been going on in the world, I feel like it's going to take longer. Especially when you see countries like Afghanistan where women's rights are totally stripped away, like basic human rights, such as not being able to show their face in public, not being able to speak in public, not even being able to sing in their own homes. You know, I remember seeing videos of Afghani women singing in their homes and sharing it on social media. And, you know, for them, that was a risk they were willing to take because they are out there fighting for their freedom. So sometimes the things that we think is minuscule is actually bigger for other women in other countries. So this is still a huge problem. The fact that it's 2025 and these are the stats that we're dealing with means that we definitely need to go out there and take action speak up, show the world that we're capable. And I know sometimes it's easier said than done. Our biggest enemy is ourself. I know because I've been there, and sometimes I questioned my own capability. I wondered if I could do this. And so for me, taking action was really important. And I know sometimes you get questioned for your capability, especially as a woman, right? If you're in a high position role or you're a leader, you're an entrepreneur, you might get questioned if you're capable. And I just want you to realize that you are more than capable. And I think I really wanted to share this because I recently watched Running Point on Netflix. So it's with Kate Hudson, and the story revolves around her becoming the president of her family's basketball team, right? She got promoted to that position. And when she did get that position, her brothers actually asked her that question. They asked, "Are you capable?" And I remember watching that, and I really got irritated and annoyed because it's 2025 and we're still getting this question. So yes, there's going to be outside forces that's going to ask you those questions, but I want you to realize you're more than capable to go out there and make things happen. And so I love sharing this story because I just think it's so relevant even today. I know we just finished Women's History Month, and we're still a woman after April 1st. So the story never ends. We continue to show up, we continue to speak up. And I actually love the theme of this year's Women's History Month because it was all about accelerated action. And action is how we get results. And I know sometimes we're afraid to take action because we're afraid to fail. We're afraid to make a mistake. We're afraid that something bad's going to happen. Nothing happens if you don't do anything. And when you take action, sometimes you may think you took the wrong action, but it will lead you to the right actions. And so being able to take action on my own journey, I never thought I would write 2 books for Wiley in a span of 2 years. Sometimes when I say that, I think I can't believe I just did that. It's so wild to me, but I also like sharing that because it's so needed. Representation matters. And, in the beginning, I did talk about empowering Asian women and showcasing, what we've been through, how we can overcome them. But I realized also the issues that we face, other women face them, right? This is the reason why I decided to write Bridging the Confidence Gap, because I know as women, we still go through so many things, so many gaps. And so this book is a guide to becoming a woman in leadership, right? Because we definitely need more women leaders out there. It's so needed. I don't think anybody wants to wait over 130 years for gender parity to be achieved. And so I hope this book is something that you can read and gain something out of it. Some of the things I wrote about was the importance of self-promotion. I know for so long we've been told that self-promotion is tacky, it's not ladylike, but I believe self-promotion is so empowering. And I'm out there too, putting myself out there, promoting myself, promoting my achievements because it's so needed. I think when one person does it, it just becomes a domino effect. So I had a whole chapter on that. I also have another chapter on imposter syndrome because imposter syndrome is something we all go through, right? Even myself. I remember when Wiley decided to ask me to write the first book, I almost said no because I didn't think I was the right person to do it. I thought there was someone else who was better. I didn't even know if I would consider myself a leader because they wanted me to write a book about women leadership. And I was like, I don't know if I'm that right person. But I'm really grateful I had the right support system to tell me that I could do it. And so I said yes and had to figure it out. I actually had a 3-month deadline to write that book. And I made it happen. I was committed because I knew that this book wasn't just about me. It was for every other woman out there, especially Asian women, to see what's possible. And, I'm really excited to see more and more women out there writing books, showing up, sharing their stories because it's so, so needed. So I thought I would do this episode today, a solo one. It's going to be a really short one, short and impactful. I hope this kind of helped you out. And so I just want to remind you a couple things, right? You're more capable than you realize. And if ever you doubt yourself, I want you to come back to this episode and remind yourself that you are more than capable. Take small steps. I always say it's a small, actionable daily steps that yield the big results. A great example is, let's say you want to write a book, because I know a lot of women who want to write a book. And sometimes you think writing a book is such a big task to do. But if you decided to just write 1 page a day for a whole year, for a whole year straight, imagine what you can achieve. You can write a whole book, or you can even split it into 2 books. So just take small, actual daily steps. And last but not least, this is something that my friend always told me, and I want to pass it on to you. Always work on your personal development every single day. So whether it's reading a book, listening to a podcast, surrounding yourself with the right people, listening to a positive audio or a positive interview, do it on the daily, right? Because you want to work on your mindset. I know this is probably something that you hear all the time, work on your mindset, but it really does affect you in your journey, right? Having the right mindset will help you get to where you need to go. And so personal development every single day. So I hope you enjoyed today's solo episode. I figured, I thought it would be so cool to do it on my own podcast. This is my first time doing it other than the introduction. So I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to check out my books on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. You can also check out my website, SheenaYapChan.com. I have a free self-confidence personality quiz that you can take. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. But if you didn't remember anything I mentioned, just Google my name, Sheena Yap Chan, because I'm literally the only Sheena Yap Chan on the internet. So it makes things a lot easier to remember. And so if this is your first time listening, check out the past episodes. I have over 900 interviews. If you've been a long-time listener, I just really want to thank you for supporting me throughout this whole time. It's been almost 10 years. And it's really amazing when people tell me that they've been listening to the podcast for a year, for 2 years. People don't realize you have silent supporters out there who are rooting for you. So even if you feel like you're alone in this journey, you're not. And so grateful for all the people who support me along this way and continue to support me. I hope you will tune into the next episode because I will have a brand new woman who will share her journey to self-confidence, and we'll be super excited to share that. So tune into the next episode and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.